and this is my channel, Barn on 11970. And as always, I thank you guys and gals for taking the time to check out one of my videos. And I wanted to talk a little bit about adding or starting a silver collection. Um, I've been getting a lot of messages, whether email, comments, things like that. People asking, well, how can I start a silver collection? Where are the best places to go? And how do I do it on a limited budget? And that is definitely understandable, but I'm going to show you guys the best way to start out if you're not familiar with what to be collecting. Now, like I would say to anything in life, the more you research, the better you are prepared for things. So I highly recommend looking into as much as you can about the silver market. Um, Asking questions is always a start. I'll be more than happy to answer whatever questions if you people, while you're watching live, want to ask any questions. But one of the biggest things I see from people who may be hesitant to get silver is, number one, they're not really sure what to get. And again, I'm going to tell you, I mean, if you want to ask questions, you can, but I always say the more you research things, the better you are from basically not getting scammed, but getting the best deals. So, I mean, there's so many different ways to go. I mean, you have silver shots, which are basically little kind of nuggets of silver. You have graded coins. You have bars. So many different ways to go. So one of the first things I would recommend, especially if you're on a limited budget, and I'm going to show you really quick. I'm going to do a quick screen share, where you can actually, let me just put this in, save yourself a lot of money and not have to spend a lot. And my thing is, having any amount of silver is better than not having any at all. So let me do the screen share really quick. So this way you could see, and I'm on eBay right now. Now, if you see right here, here is a 1964 Roosevelt dime. And notice the price. This is on a buy it now, so you don't even have to worry about the auction going higher. The price is $1.99 US dollar, plus 50 cents to ship it. Now, obviously, if you live overseas, the shipping is going to be a little bit more, but I can't see it being too much more because especially one dime is not going to weigh much. Now, if you're not sure what to get, I always suggest starting out your collection with what they call junk silver, and that's primarily of what these things are, the dime that I'm just showing you. Now, any dime, quarter, or half dollar before, well, from 1964 and earlier are 90% silver. So as you could see, with these prices that have gone down over the years, it's made them quite affordable. So you can get a roll of dimes fairly cheap. You can get one at a time. So every week, if you have an extra $2 or $3, which is not hard to accumulate, you can add another silver dime, another silver quarter, or another silver half dollar. So you're talking a quarter is going to be roughly a little bit about over $5, so about $5.50. A half dollar is going to range around $8 to $10, depending on the type. But if you only have a limited budget, right here you could be adding silver to your collection. Now, of course, these are 90% silver. So they're not 100% silver, but you know what? It's better than the coins we have today. And that shows this dime from 1964 has a higher value than a dime that is printed, well, not printed, but manufactured today, solely for the fact of the metal it contains. So if you were to buy, for example, a gallon of gas right now on average around the United States Corporation, let's just say it's about $2.50 on average. So one of these dimes would almost get you a gallon of gas. Now, you would need two $1 bills plus 50 cents to be able to get that gas with the current money that we have. So it shows when they take away the metals from coins, it devalues the currency. And that's one of the reasons why I tell people to get coins with precious metals. Now, you can have fun with going to the banks. And for example, if you want to do coin roll runs, where you go to your bank or your federal credit union, and you say, hi, I'd like whatever amount of rolls of quarters. Let's say you want $100 worth of rolls of quarters, or dimes, or half dollars. Well, you could sort through them, and if you find any of these silver coins, Well, you could replace everything else, and you could take a regular quarter from today, a regular dime from today, and replace it and redeposit it in your bank because they do not charge you. So if you get $50 worth of quarters, it costs you $50. Now, of course, that's going to take a lot of time, but I mean, if you were going to be doing nothing for the night, instead of going online and watching a video, some cartoon or something, some video that's not going to help you, well, if you spend your time doing things like this, you could save yourself money. But even if you don't want to do that, purchasing them are not very expensive. So you can continually add to your stack with using the minimal amount. Now, to get $2.50, all you have to do is if you have a bag full of cans, if you had a party over the weekend and people had beer bottles and beer cans, you can return those beer cans, that tin, for silver. So there are ways to go. Now, the more you add, the better you're going to be. Now, another thing with eBay, especially if you live in the United States of America Corporation, is the fact that they have what's called eBay bucks. And that means every few quarters, it's every 4 months is a quarter. Whatever you've purchased on eBay, you can accumulate eBay bucks. Now you have to sign up for it. So if you haven't, go to eBay and they'll give you the information on how to do it. But you can actually get silver for free. I've had over the years many times where I've gotten silver eagles for free. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind is when you buy coins on eBay, you do not get eBay bucks most of the time. It's just one of their rules for some reason. But if you buy other things online, and a lot of times I buy a lot of things on eBay, you accumulate the eBay bucks and you could turn around and get things for free. And right now I currently have roughly, I think about almost $120 worth of eBay bucks. That's a couple of ounces of silver that I can add to my stack for free. So there's always ways to accumulate. Now, when people ask what are the best types of silver to collect, well, I always say diversification is always the best way to go. You can get the junk silver. You can get, for example, just silver eagles or silver maple leaves, silver libetods, which are the Mexican silver coins, philharmonics. There's so many different ways to go. I say stay away from those fancier coins because you're paying a larger premium. And if you're stacking just to accumulate silver, you want to spend the least amount of money possible. Now, there are things you have to be careful of because people talk about things like confiscation and things like that. If you are really worried about confiscation, one of the things they don't really tell you too much about, especially when they had the gold problem in 1933, I believe is the year, I could be off, when they quote unquote confiscated gold, even though they didn't go into people's houses with military to steal it, they basically gave you an incentive by paying you for them, and then they fixed the price after they got it. Two things will not ever be confiscated. One is jewelry. Actually, three things. One is jewelry. The other would be silverware. And the third would be collectible coins. So if you diversify and get a little bit of everything, well, you're protected no matter what. So, I mean, I've had people for some reason feel the need to make fun of it, but I have 3.3 ounces of silver around my neck. This chain I bought back in 1996, it is solid silver. And even when you go on an airplane, they don't consider this anything other than jewelry, and they will not confiscate it. They do not confiscate those things. So if you're really worried about, oh, the government's going to take all of my gold and silver, well, if you have gold, get it, or silver, get it in jewelry form. Buy silverware. Get your junk dimes, quarters, and half dollars. Now, one of the things you may or may not know about the Kennedy half dollars is from 1965 to 1970. They also have silver, just not as much. They have 40% silver in them. Now, the way you could tell is if you go to the sides, the edges of the coin where the ridges are, if you see all brown, well, that's not a silver coin. That has mainly copper in it. If you see the ridges completely silver, though, then you have a silver coin. Now, they also make an interesting sound. I mean, you could literally put your a quarter in a pocket of change and shake it around, and you'll hear the difference of what the silver does. And I found that out one time when I went to a Chinese restaurant. I paid for it and got change, and as soon as they put the change, they dropped it in my hand, I can hear I just acquired a silver quarter. So, I mean, you're not going to retire off those things, but anything that could save you money is an opportunity. So there are people who discourage you about precious metals and they tell you it's going to go to zero and all that other stuff. That's just nonsense. And that's why I showed, like, for example, that 1964 dime, even though it has a face value of 10 cents, it's worth over $2 because of the metal in it. How much is a 1994 dime or a 2016 dime worth? Well, you can only purchase with it its face value with is 10 cents. So what would you rather have? A 1964 dime or a 2016 dime? So it shows that the precious metals do have value, and that's why over the centuries they take away the different types of metals, because coins used to be gold or silver. The gold, of course, had more value because it's a rarer metal, it's harder to get, and it has more value. But then when they took the gold, for example, the gold certificates, and turned them into silver certificates, and then they took away even that, and our notes now are just Federal Reserve notes, they're debt notes, they are not backed by anything. And that's where the value would once come from. So if you're looking for an opportunity to start a silver collection, now obviously I recommend gold as well. And there's other rare metals that you can get, but most people don't talk about those as much, and that's things like, for example, rhodium. That's another precious metal. You have platinum, palladium. I have a little bit of everything. So you can have generic rounds, you can have silver bars, gold bars, and remember, ladies and gentlemen, you can have gold bars that go down as low as a gram. And nowadays, 1 gram of gold, well, let me look exactly on eBay so I can tell you exactly what the going price is. So let's look up 1 gram gold bar. Now, when you get things like that, you want to make sure you're going to a reputable person. There are plenty of websites you can go on. I'm not going to promote any particular one. But eBay, if you're not sure, be careful. You want things like Pamper Credit Suisse, things like that, and something maybe from the Perth Mint, Swiss Pamp, things like that. But the average price now for 1 gram of gold is roughly between $55 and $60, which is not out of the realm of possibility. And you only need 31 of them approximately to equal 1 ounce of gold. So it is expensive, but if you get a little bit at a time and add it to your stack, like I said, something is always better than nothing. So especially if you're on a budget, think of it this way. For the price of an evening out, you can get yourself a couple of grams of gold. Instead of buying a candy bar and a pack of gum, you could buy yourself a silver dime. So it all depends on your priorities. Now, when it comes to the monetary system, they have shelf lives. That is why there is not one currency that has lasted throughout our civilization and through our lifetime, because they have a certain peak, they lose confidence after the people in control take advantage and basically bleed it dry, and eventually it collapses in on itself and it starts over again. And if you look throughout history, it is all about silver and gold starting and silver and gold returning. And Scott says, go for silver, not gold. Well, I mean, it's all personal preference. My thing is, you can't go wrong with both. Obviously, more people are going to want silver because it's cheaper. And also, one of the main reasons more people talk about silver than gold is the fact that you have the gold and silver ratio. Now, it varies throughout history, but the average gold to silver ratio over the centuries has been on average 1 to 16. Which means for every 1 ounce of gold, you needed approximately 16 ounces of silver, and that would equal the same value. Now, obviously, that has changed throughout the millennia, so it's different. But nowadays, the ratio is approximately around 70 to 80 to 1. That's a huge difference, which means silver is going to get you a better potential return. Now, one of the things I tell people, I do not get precious metals to become wealthy. If that happens, that's a bonus. I collect precious metals for security and for insurance for the possibility of the dollar having problems in the future. So there are people who just don't understand it. And that's fine. They don't have to. My job is not to convince people they have to do something. And Silverchart says, I got a fake coin in 2008. I don't buy on eBay. That's definitely something you have to be careful about. And that's one of the things that I've talked to people about is research. The more you learn about something, the less likely you are to have that happen. But there are plenty of places online you can go. You can go to Provident Metals. You can go to AppMex. You can go to the PerthMint.com. I've gone to GoldMart.com. There's plenty of different places to go. What you can do is, if you find a couple of places, do your own individual shopping. See what people have said about that. Don't be afraid to ask questions. The more you are filled with knowledge, the less chance that somebody can take advantage of you. So there are plenty of places where you can get discounted silver. I have, over the years, because of things like eBay Bucks, I've probably gotten at least 20 to 25 silver ounces for free. And I think I did a video a couple years ago, it's on this channel, where I got a I think it was a quarter-ounce gold coin for roughly about $125 to $140 because I took the discount from my eBay bucks and just applied it to that gold coin. So there's always ways around it. Robert D says, what do you think about non-minted pure single silver coins? Seems to be a good buy for me. My thing is, check and see the reputation of whoever's making those coins. Also, check and see how much more over spot they are charging. To me, I'm trying to get an accumulation of ounces. So, when I first started my collection, before I knew anything about this stuff, my collection was primarily graded coins, MS70 or Proof 70 coins from NGC or PGCS. And that was before I knew about the manipulation. As a matter of fact, I have a video that was actually one of my first videos back on my old channel, Barn on 11967, that I happen to still have and placed on this channel so you could see some of my silver. Primarily now, I tend to stick with bars. The two companies I tend to stick with these days, of course there are exceptions, is I tend to get Engelhart or J.M. Mathy. Those are the two, one of the more reputable and well-known dealers. But there are plenty of others you can go to. But there are magnet tests you can do. If you go on YouTube and Google in silver tests, there are plenty of videos out there that teach you how you can avoid being scammed. So again, the more questions and you ask people, the more you learn, the less likely you are to be taken advantage of. So, Scott says, how much silver is enough? 20 ounces or 2,000? Well, it's like food. If you're starving to death, would you rather have one can of food or no cans of food? So when it comes to stacking precious metals, if you are doing it for the purpose of insurance and possible protection against a collapsing or damaged currency, anything is better than nothing. So it really depends on how much time you have and how much money you can afford to spend. Now, obviously, you're not going to spend your rent money to be buying gold and silver. That's very dangerous. When I tell people about what kind of money you should spend, I say about 20 to 25% of your expendable income. In other words, after you've paid your bills and everything else, and you have extra income, instead of going out to the movies one night, buy a couple of ounces of gold and silver if you want to use it as protection. If you think it's a money-making scheme, you're in this for the wrong business. You know, I've been telling people since I started back in 2011, I was buying gold and silver for protection. When I originally started my collection, I did it just because of the fact that I loved collecting coins as a child. So I started getting back into it again. Let's see. Silverchart says, I usually get Sunshine Mint from my online dealer, who often has them very cheap. Yeah, Sunshine Mint is fine. There's a couple of different places that you can go. So again, diversify. If you have a little bit of everything, it makes it easier for you. So I have, like, for example, I have everything from silver dimes up to silver dollars. I have Morgan dollars. I have Peace dollars. I have Maple Leaves. I have regular graded coins. I have proof coins. I have a little bit of everything. Gold, I have anything from a 1 gram bar up to a 1 ounce bar. I have some platinum coins, not many, a couple of palladium bars. I even have some copper. So it's always good to have a little bit of everything. Now, I have an advantage because I've been doing this. I've been collecting gold and silver basically since 2006. I mean, I was buying gold when it was around $600 an ounce. So there are so many people, especially the trolls, they'll always say, oh, look how much the price has gone down. Well, the price of gold is $1,300 an ounce. The majority of the gold I purchased around $600 to $700 an ounce. So even when it dropped from 1900 to today's price of roughly around 1300 and change, I'm still in the green. So it really does depend on when you purchase things as well. But again, if all of a sudden next week the economy collapses and all of a sudden the paper dollars lose value because they try to panic print so much that they end up basically destroying the currency and its value, well, the price of your metals are going to continually go up based on those currencies. So what would you rather have? A falling currency that is basically on its way to its death, or rising metals that everybody goes to? Because every time they do quantitative easing, or they have some kind of situation around the world, all of a sudden prices of metals go up. The way they manipulate it is the prices that you see for the value of the precious metals are based in paper money. So they put out basically fake pieces of paper saying, here's a silver stock. And they just dump millions of these paper ounces on the market. Now, of course, supply and demand, the people that are buying them think that they're actually buying an ounce of gold or an ounce of silver or whatever ounce they're purchasing when it's just a piece of paper. Just imagine if you owned a car and you sold the title to 100 different people. Well, if they all have that piece of paper and think they own the car, that's wonderful until they go and drive it. And then they realize, wait a minute, I don't own the car. Neither do the 99 other people. So that's what they do with the SLV and GLD. And that's why when people talk about how they hammer the prices, it's just they dump a bunch of paper onto the market. I mean, they put millions of ounces of gold and silver and paper on the market. And that cannot last forever because the more people that see this, the harder it is for the lie to continue. So it's just a matter of time. It's just they're pretty good at sneaking things around, and, the average person, unfortunately, still doesn't care. Once they do, this can switch overnight. It'll be like a light switch. So, like I've said before, and I'll say it again, and I'll continue to say this, better to be 5 years too early than 5 seconds too late. So, I mean, like I tell people, it takes years of planning to build a dam, to make it work, start getting the cracks in it. It could take years and decades, but it only takes a split second once the water seeps through the crack and breaks open the dam before it floods and rushes to everything and destroys it. So that is why I collect gold and silver, is to protect myself. What you do, that's up to you. It's not my job to tell you how to think. It's my job to say what I do, and if it resonates with you, then you should go with it as well. But I can only go based on what people ask me. So check eBay out. Go to your local coin shops. Maybe you can get a couple of deals by getting multiple pieces. So if on eBay you can get a silver dime for roughly around $2.50, see if you can go to a coin dealership or a pawn shop. Not a porn shop, but a pawn shop. I mean, if you can go to a pawn shop and get porn and some free silver, that's a double bonus, I guess. But if you go to a pawn shop, PAWN, they may just have a couple of silver coins they just want to get rid of. And remember, when it comes to junk silver, it doesn't have to be in great condition. Think of it like, for example, you have two $20 bills. One is straight out of the printing press. It looks beautiful. It's crisp. It looks fine. and the other is all crumbled and wrinkly. Do you think a person's going to care which one you give them? They're both still valued at, as of now, $20. You could buy $20 worth of goods with them. So it doesn't matter if your junk silver is scratched up. And, well, obviously you don't want it too scratched up because they could scratch away the silver. But it could be a different color of tone. There could be some tonification. As a matter of fact, sometimes coins with a lot of colorful tone in them can actually increase their value. But it doesn't matter if they are beautiful and shiny or all scratched up. It's the silver content or the gold content that people care about. So it's basically your preference of what you want to look at. If you want it to look all beautiful, then you want to get very shiny pieces. If you don't care about that, maybe sometimes you could strike a deal with somebody. For example, if you see a shiny, perfectly beautiful 10-ounce silver bar, let's say goes for, let's just say $200. I know it's cheaper than that, but just the roundabout figure. And let's say you see one that's all kind of rusted a little bit and toned all over the place and doesn't look as beautiful. Maybe you could talk to somebody and say, listen, for $10 less, I'll take it off your hand. It may not seem like a big deal to them, but hey, an extra $10 in your pocket means you could buy something else with that same amount of money you would have bought the other silver for. So that's all I wanted to say. You do what you want. Scott says, so sell silver for worthless cash at some point. Well, that would be kind of silly, don't you think? What will happen is if there's any kind of economic crash, what eventually happens is they replace the currency with a new currency. So it would be at that point exchanging it for a different currency, which is where they start it all over again because we continually go back into the cycle. But you really wouldn't want to sell your silver for worthless cash. I mean, you just said in your sentence alone it's worthless. Well, why would you do that? That's why I also tell people, if you buy things like food and water and you get at least 6 months supply for you and your family, I'm talking like 6 months each, not 6 months altogether. Well, you won't have to worry about using your gold and silver right away. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, if there isn't a collapse and there's a panic in the economy and all of a sudden your money is worthless, you're not going to go out in the streets and say, hey, I got some silver, do you want to buy it? Nobody's going to care at that point. They're going to care about food and water and shelter and protection and all those other things. But when the dust clears and they get everything resettled, they always have to start with the monetary system again. So that's why you need to have that survival time in that period if it gets to that extreme. Make no mistakes, I would never try and kid anybody to think if all of a sudden there's a collapse tomorrow that the next day you're going to go and make millions off your gold and silver. In the beginning, no one's going to care because they want to eat. They want to drink water. They want their family secure. They're not going to care about the gold and silver right away, but it will go into play once the dust settles. So that's it. I hope you guys learned something from this. If you have any questions, leave comments, especially if you haven't watched this live or after I'm done streaming this video. If you have questions, talk to the people that are in these chats. Get to know the people that continually come here. The more you communicate with each other, the better chances you can help each other and guide each other. And that's what we need in this world. We need less fighting, less arguing, more people helping. So if you know anybody that could benefit from a video like this, share it on their social networks. Get them to watch it. Maybe get somebody that's thinking about, oh, what should I invest my money in? Instead of them going to some stockbroker and them getting your friend, their family member, or coworker to be convinced of buying stocks, which those could potentially go to zero, have them maybe think that silver in the physical form is the best way to go. And one other thing I want to talk about is there's an old saying, if you don't hold it in your hand, you do not own it. So my suggestion is keep it within arm's reach, whether that's with a family member, whether that's at your house, but don't put it in a safety deposit box, because if that bank closes down, you have no way of getting your product because it's no longer yours. So I know it's a little less convenient to be able to have it at home and have to protect it, but there's plenty of ways you can do that. So keep it at home. Don't put them in banks. So thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. If you appreciate this stuff, you guys know I always appreciate the effort of my subscribers who take the time to thumb up my videos and share them. Hit subscribe if you haven't. And for all the people watching, check the comment section. See if people are asking questions. If you have a way you can answer them that can benefit them, please do that to get the community growing and getting to know one another. So my name is Chris. This is Barnon 11970. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to listen to what I have to say, and I will see you next video. I hope you all have a great night.